Hey, everybody. Welcome to Lately. My name is Jen McFarland. I am the co founder of Epiphany Courses. I teach things like Google My Business to business leaders all the time, and I'm really excited to share this with you. Lauren, can we switch to the screen share? Okay. And I don't mind if you ask questions as we go through this. I love getting questions and kind of answering them on the spot. So, welcome to Increase Conversions by 5% with Google My Business. My name is Jen McFarland. I have over 25 years of digital marketing experience. I've helped everyone from enterprise to solopreneurs wrestle with problems like this and get their campaigns going. Let's talk a little bit about what's been happening. And thank you so much for being here, and thank you for having me lately. I really want to jump into this topic and really talk about some of this stuff. So what has been happening, and it's really made Google My Business go more to the fore again, even though some of us have been teaching it for a long time to small business owners, is we have seen an explosion of e-commerce penetration, like 10 years of growth in 3 months. Now, what that really means is if you look, there was a slight uptick in 2019. That was right before COVID was really coming to the United States. I think multinational companies were starting to see, we may need to switch more into the online space with our products and services. And then into the first 3 months, this only goes into the first 3 months of Q1, so Q1 2020, 10 years worth of growth and e-commerce penetration. So then the second thing that's been going on is Forrester has done some research on digital marketing's influence in the marketplace as a whole. So this is digital marketing and advertising. And if you notice back in 2017, digital marketing had about a 10% influence on what was going on in the world. Now, if you're like me and you work in digital marketing, you're like, wow, that's not a lot, But what we've seen is a steady increase over the years. And then now, based on what's happened with COVID and this massive digital transformation that we are currently going through, they think that digital marketing will influence purchases by up to 58%, like in 2023. So, are you going to discuss the upgrades? I read that they're calling it something else in January. Um, not sure what that's about exactly, but what all of this means is businesses need to be searchable online. Google My Business, the knowledge panel, your website, all of these things, the videos that you produce, your social media posts, um, all of these things kind of work together to help create your digital footprint across all of the different platforms. What this also means is moving your products online is no longer optional, and this includes the B2B space. So we used to say, well, you can kind of translate this into the offline space. Your first funnel is offline, all of these kinds of things. But now what we're really finding is that that's no longer optional, and we need to make it as easy as possible for people to buy from us online because everybody's had their cell phones out for the last year and a half and they want things to be easy. So you really have to think about your payment process as part of your marketing, and everything needs to be online. And you need to move your products into Google My Business if you haven't done that yet or before. It also means that now is the time to prioritize all of your digital transformation projects. So what that means is if you've had some of these projects just kind of sitting on the shelf for a while, we know that there's been this huge explosion happening at the big business level. It's trickled down especially in small local businesses who basically lost all of their customers overnight when COVID hit. And now it just means that, we're never going to go back to the way that things were. I think a lot of people sat it out early on. And what we've seen is this explosion that we really need to be looking at everything that's going on in the marketplace and then make a shift in another direction. Let's see. I'm also monitoring questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments section. So when we look at digital marketing effectiveness, and Kate's post on LinkedIn announcing this event, like hit it like absolutely out of the park, hit the nail on the head. When we look at organically digital marketing effectiveness, the top 5 are always going to be Google My Business, your website, social media, email marketing. These are the organic things that you don't necessarily have to pay for, but it's all anchored in by SEO and your content. And, I know that, and Kate mentioned SEO as part of this presentation, and it really is like the heart of everything that you talk about. All five of these things are incredibly integrated together, and they're all supported by knowing how your customers are searching for it, which is SEO fundamentally, and creating great content that will draw people in. And so that needs to happen in all of these four key areas, anchored by the fifth, which is your great content. Searchability, conversions, engagements, it's all about the content that you create and how you share it with the world. So you want to make sure that all of these things are really, really at the fore of what you're doing, whether you have ads or not. I mean, ads are incredibly effective, but you kind of want to conquer the free stuff before you worry too much about ads. And in fact, having your messaging on point actually makes the ads even more effective. So when we talk about, your SEO and your content for Google My Business and beyond, you want to have authentic, focused content that really is for the customers. It can't be a reflection of your internal processes. You can't be talking about jargon all the time. You really want to listen to how your customers describe your products and your services, and then you want to say it that way to your potential customers, whether it's on social or your website. You wanna really, really think about why customers should choose you. It's very crowded in everybody's industry. And then you answer the common questions that people have so that then they are more likely to come to you. So these are some really important things. And then people also forget that reviews and testimonials are some of your most powerful content, meaning your customers can write the best content for you, and then you just turn around and share it. So question would be whether or not you have a storefront or online, does this work either way? We're going to talk about that for Google My Business here in just a second, because there are a few differences here. But when you're writing on your Google My Business page or anywhere, really think about your content and how you are talking about that with other people. And there are free non-technical SEO tools that you can use. The top one I would say is always to ask your customers. And people get kind of freaked out when you say feedback is a part of your digital marketing stack. Ask your customers, they'll help you out the most. And then here are some free or cheaper SEO tools that are a little less technical, that can really help you with traffic, how people are searching for things. This example here is from Surfer, Keyword Surfer. It's a Chrome extension. And the reason I use this example is there's some differences between what types of conversations that you're having, whether they're difficult or crucial or hard, and so some of these words matter and some of these differences matter. And this is just a really quick hit on how those things change. Okay, so let's talk about Google My Business. So we know how important it is. We know we need to use the right words, but who's eligible and who's not eligible? Basically, any business that has a brick and mortar location or a service area, meaning you go there in person, or you could work out of your home. You just have a service area. So this could be like consultants, plumbers, somebody like me who goes and speaks to groups. But you have to be able to make in-person contact with customers during stated hours. Now, there are some businesses that are ineligible for Google My Business, but they're eligible for a knowledge panel, which would be a whole separate talk because the strategy behind that, how you do it, is much different. And those would be like brands, organizations, artists that offer only online products and services. So that would be like Lately would be a great example of that. But Lately would be eligible for a knowledge panel, and there's some strategies around that. Then there are some other businesses that are just not really eligible for either Knowledge Panel or Google My Business. And those are like if you have an Airbnb, you can't put your rental property up there, put them on Airbnb and VRBO. If you hold a class or a meeting at a location that you don't own, that's not eligible for Google My Business or a Knowledge Panel. And then lead generation agents and companies are not eligible. So what you find here is that pretty much everybody, except for a small sliver of the market, really can claim their space on Google My Business or work toward getting a knowledge panel. So the way that you do that to claim your space is you go to google.com/business, and then you just start entering information about your business. So when we look at the anatomy really of what that looks like, and I'm sorry this is so much, but I really wanted to point out a few features of this so you can kind of see the importance, and then we're going to drill into the importance of that. a little bit more is if I search for Hot Mama Salsa, that's a local company here in Portland that I helped for a while. On the left-hand side, you see kind of what you're typically going to find. So it's a website. We love having your business name being the first item in search. If you're not getting traction and your business name yes, the salsa is good. And we're going to talk for a minute about what their specialty is, because they do regular salsa and then they do this hot chili oil that's amazing off the hook. So you see their website at the top. You see their product photos and videos. And I love the way the categories are there. I believe that it's picking that up from Shopify. That's why choosing the right web platform is so amazing and so great, because it can really leverage how you show up in Google search, and then the social media. And that's typically what you're going to find if someone has a unique business name that isn't competing with like Fortune 500 companies or other people like that. If you look up your business and it's not showing up at the top, you may have a little bit of work to do around that so you can get more traction. Then on the right-hand side, what we have is this Google My Business panel that is really, really powerful. And what you'll find at the top are photos. You can add videos now to describe your services. It's really great. You can add a map based on your location if you have a location. Other times you can see it as a service area. So if somebody serves the United States, for example, it'll show a picture of the United States with a big line around it saying this is the service area. You can also have your name, your logo, and links to your website. People can get directions. It just pops open Google Maps or Apple Maps if that's your default map. You can also save this, or you can call them. And there's analytics in the back to tell you how many times it's shown up in search and how many times people have taken an action using some of these buttons. The next one are the Google reviews. We're going to talk about the Google reviews. So asking people to review your products and services is so important, because how they talk about your products and services can also help you surface in search. So if you have somebody who's like, oh, they're so amazing, they do this really great stuff. I really liked their digital marketing. I really like their how they make this hot chili oil and how friendly they are. All of these reviews are super important, and they really can talk about things that lead you to drive traffic to your Google My Business page. It's also a time for where you can respond to a review. In fact, I just really tell my customers to make sure that they respond to every review, even the ones that are critical, and turn it into a good conversation about what it is that you're doing. But those reviews can also show up in search. Also, the category. So if you look here, there's 8 Google reviews, and right below that is food products supplier. That's like the top category where this will show up in other parts of search. It's the most important thing that you can do, and it's in the back end. You just pick what category it's part of, and it will also drive people to your business based on the category of search. The next part are your hours, address, and phone number. In super nerdy SEO land, name, address, and phone number are the 3 most important things that you can have about your business consistently everywhere. And Google My Business is giving you this space for free to do this. So then you use the same name, address, and phone number. Guess what? On Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, all of the places. And you're starting to build, knit together a digital footprint, and it's only taking you a little bit of time to fill this stuff out. The next section below that are the Q&A. Now, a lot of people interpret this as only being Q&A for, questions that customers or potential customers ask. And then, yeah, I'm with you, Lauren. You don't do anything without looking at the Google reviews first. And the importance of reviews is astounding to me. 88% of people consider reviews as important as a personal recommendation from a friend. That's according to Search Engine Land. That is a crazy statistic to me. I don't think of them personally as being that important. But that should tell you how important reviews are. You always want to get some good reviews because people are looking. This panel, this Google My Business panel, is showing up on cell phones across the nation and everywhere. Everywhere Google is used. And I don't know if you've heard, but Google's pretty popular. It's like the biggest search engine out there. So you really want to pay attention to that. This Q&A section, people interpret that to just be questions from potential customers and then you answer them. But you can also use this as an FAQ that you precede, meaning if you know the typical questions and answers that you get, you can actually turn this into an FAQ section and add the questions and answers that you get a lot. And guess what? If you use words that are searchable or that people use in search a lot to find things, you're basically signaling to Google that these are the types of things that you deal with. So you can be a little bit strategic about how you use this panel. You'll also see the social reviews from other places. One of the things that I don't see on here that is super powerful, which if I talk to the owner again today, I would say make sure you add your products to your Google My Business panel. So what you want to do is add your products and services here, and what you get is a photo, a description, and a link to that product. And it's really important because then people will be like, oh, no, that's what I'm looking for. Click, and like they're in your website buying it from you. Or if you're sending them somewhere else, I think you could send them to Etsy or wherever it is, Teachable, wherever it is that you're selling something, you could also do that too. So as you can tell, all of this is really important and super powerful. And a lot of times what I find people do is they set up Google My Business and then they're like, done. I've set up my Google My Business, done. Uh, this is a lot like your website. It needs to be something that you look at, maybe set up something where it's at least a couple times a year. Maybe quarterly would be a good idea. So you're updating this content, you're keeping it up to date, and you're looking at the things that people are saying. If someone leaves you a review, you're going to get an email about it. Go on there, respond to the review, but look at the content you have on here and make some updates to this because it's really important. And here is why. So remember how I said hot chili oil? So if I go into Google Maps and I say hot chili oil near me, now we know that since 2017, which was quite a while ago, there's been a 500% increase in people searching for things near them. That's the real power of a Google My Business for people with a smaller service area and then also a larger one as well. In this case, you can see Hot Mama Salsa shows up as the best match for hot chili oil near me. And if you look, the top review there is great hot oil chili, amazing. Can't wait to try it. So what you're seeing is it's showing up as a best match because there was a review that talked about the hot chili oil. So then it's surfacing in Google Maps and Apple Maps as like the place to go. So what you can see is the power of it is any automation tools or analytics tools for Google My Business. We could talk about that in a minute. It'll show up. You can use it with like Google Studio. There's the analytics in the back end of Google My Business in particular that tell you a little bit more about it. If you're logged into your Google account that's tied to your Google My Business, it actually shows up at the top. So you can kind of get like a quick hit on it. And then I could probably send some links to Lately and they can put them in the video afterwards that kind of can give you a little more detail on that. But so in terms of search, you can see that what words that you use, what words your customers use really matter because this is really a real holistic thing that you want to look at and in part really of your SEO strategy for your online marketing strategy. So here are some of the benefits and features of Google My Business. Some of it we've talked about, some of it we haven't. You can use this for multiple locations. It's kind of a lot to set up, but you can set up multiple locations. You can set up one location. You can work from home and hide your address so people can't see a picture of your house. I fix that for people a lot. You just can't set it up with a PO box, or you're going to end up kind of penalized, and it's kind of hard to get undone. You kind of have to get somebody to help you with that, who does that a lot. You can add your detailed products and services. Really important. As I said before, your reviews and testimonials, super critical. You can also use those reviews and testimonials in other places. I highly recommend if you get cool reviews, especially if you have a location. I'm going to show you the free marketing kit that you get from Google as part of Google My Business. If you don't have a location, find a place and a way to get those reviews on your website, schedule them in lately, post them out on social media, and then have this be a consistent part of your process that you're always working on getting reviews on your Google My Business. One of the things that we tell people about getting reviews is if you're sending out like sales receipts, um, add the link to your review page, to leave a review, which is in the back end of your Google My Business account. Add a link to that review so that people can just leave a review because we know that people are happiest right after purchase. So put it on the receipt when they're like super jazzed about having worked with you or buying a product from you. And then they're more likely to leave a review right away. As I said before, you can precede the Q&A section with frequently asked questions. And oh, by the way, Google will give you $500 ad match in Google Ads with your Google My Business account. So that means if you spend $500, you'll get $500 in ad spend from Google for free, just for having your Google My Business account. So it really does help you, if you're moving into ads, if you've got your messaging and everything set, that you want to use it with an ad spend. Other powerful parts of this with Google My Business, you can add a detailed description of your business, additional categories to it that can kind of support that initial category. Um, you can do posts to Google My Business. They've become a little less important over time. When Google My Business first launched, it was super important to have posts all the time. Now I think it's most important if you're having a special or if you have events, it'll surface in Google Events. But it's not, it doesn't pick up the posts as much. Let's see. Have a Google My account for this. I'm picking up address for a different coach in the Denver area that doesn't belong. Um, yeah, there are different ways that you probably want to work with somebody who specializes more in Google My Business to kind of help you through this. Sometimes, there are ways that you can contact Google to help you solve some of these issues. But a lot of times it's so time intensive and it takes a long time to change that sometimes people just find someone who's an expert that can go in and make those changes. The different coach, that's an interesting situation. So one of the reasons why you set up the Google My Business account is to claim the space so that things like this don't happen. If somebody else is trying to take over the space, or if you don't have it, and then Google can make some mistakes. This almost sounds like a knowledge panel issue that happens sometimes too, where I have a lawyer that has a knowledge panel from her old practice, and we've been working for a long time to try and get the knowledge panel to have her updated contact information, and it just takes a while to do that. So yes, Google My Business is being changed to Google Business Profiles. They're constantly iterating on this product, and it's changing. So we'll have to see what happens after after it launches to see what other changes are coming with that. But my understanding is if you start with Google My Business, and I can't remember what it was called before. I think it was called Google Local before that. And so this new iteration, I think they're really just having to change it because so many people are working remotely now. I think that that's a really big part of this, is it's really iterating and evolving, because it didn't used to involve people who had service areas. Like you had to have a location in the beginning. And now you can have a location inside of a co-working space where 20 other businesses are sharing the same address. So what's happening is Google is evolving with kind of the changing times, kind of like as we were talking in the beginning, how there's been these tremendous shifts in digital marketing. So yeah, Google Plus, yeah. Yeah, I chuckle when I see a Google Plus link on somebody's website. So the last little tidbit here is Google will also give, if you have a physical location, you can also get a free marketing kit from Google. And you just go to marketingkit.withgoogle.com. This is a place where I'm using the reviews section for my own Google My Business to kind of create content that I could share on use lately and share it on my social media posts. You can also it'll also generate like stickers and all kinds of things that you can download and send to a printer that have your hours, that have, you know, how to find you, all different kinds of things in this marketing kit. A lot of people don't talk about it. It's a really good thing that you can use to take advantage of all of the testimonials that you get and all of the content that you have to really like leverage that into something bigger. You can also generate things on your free marketing kit and then publish them directly onto your Google My Business. We know that more photos, more content about your business makes it more likely for people to come and look at your business. It also is giving Google more information to help you show up in search. So I think that, yes, they are very clever. So if we have any other questions, Google Buzz, Google Wave. If we have any other questions, we can do that. I do want to encourage you to connect with me on LinkedIn. I talk about Google My Business and really about digital marketing a lot. And I just love sharing this kind of stuff and really connecting with people. So make sure that you connect with me on LinkedIn. And we've got probably 4 minutes or so if we want to like do some Q&A. Um, and I think I'm going to stop sharing. Let's make sure I did this right. There I am. I can see myself now. So if anybody has any other questions, I'm here to hang out and answer them as best I can. If not, this is really the end of the actual slides in the presentation. As we all know, Google My Business is constantly evolving, and we know that it's changing, but this is the best that we can do right now in terms of what's happening. And oh wow, thanks. So thank you everybody. And I'm not really seeing any new questions. We'll see what we can do about Catherine's questions and getting some tools in for JS, some links to some things. And yeah, if nobody has any other questions, I guess we can call it good.